guys hear me now? Is it better? How about now? Alright, sweet. So the idea is to, just have some fun. Sketch out a creature, a head, or a bust, or whatever. It's been a while since I've done one of these, so the goal is to just kind of answer some questions and just have some fun. Probably gonna do like an hour and a half, something along those lines. So don't know exactly what I want to do, but been thinking about doing like a giant. Been looking at a lot of Paul Boner and like some other artists that I really like. Like artists that I used to follow when I was starting out, and then for some reason I kind of stopped looking at them, and now I'm back. It's like a cycle. So they come and go. So yeah. Alright, let's see. So maybe I'm gonna do like a giant. I want to start with like some gesture, as I usually do. So kind of get that posture. Then let me just grab the snake hook. And it's funny because, so for those who be following me on Instagram or whatever, like lately, this past year and a half, I devoted, I would say like maybe 90% of my time to drawing and painting and all of that, something that I've never done before. I was primarily, started my career as a sculptor and then got into the ZBrush and all of the real-time game stuff. So never really got into painting, oil painting per se. And I was always intrigued by form, and that's kind of something that still intrigues me, of course. It's the reason why I like sculpting, but I've been spending a little bit more time recently on shapes and gesture and some other concepts that are, you know, like a little bit easier to understand and to delve into when you are drawing and painting, I guess. I think they are effective in both mediums, obviously, but so the way I approach sculpting has been changing a little bit too, which is fun. So you can see that I'm spending a lot of time, I mean not a lot of time, but spending some time just kind of trying to understand what I'm doing. So instead of like doing the eyes or the mouth or whatever, I want to kind of, you know, find the gestures, find what really matters in this case. So, let me see if I can. Is my mic louder now? Yeah, I think it's louder, right? Yeah, it was actually pretty dim. So if you guys have any questions or you want to talk about, you want me here talking about something specifically or whatever, this is just some time for us to just kind of hang out and, you know, get some action going here. Hey, thanks, dude. Appreciate it. Yeah, the bike is fast, man. Super stoked. I rode today again. Yeah, that bike's it's amazing. Loving it. Thank you for stopping by. Let's see. Yeah, so I'm just letting some of these shapes and forms just kind of appear. So yeah, like I said, I had something in mind, which was do like a giant or like a really tall and skinny person, creature, dude. You know, and even like using some anatomy landmarks, like some stuff that I find interesting, that I've been studying and capturing. You know, literally just having some fun. So again, I'm gonna be repeating myself a little bit because a lot of people are joining, but if you guys wanna ask something or want me to talk about something specific, just let me know. In the meantime, I'm just gonna be zoning out and probably can do like a quick gesture with these hands as well. Alright, so then the elbows will be here. We can just kind of work a little bit more on the head. What up, everybody? Alright, I guess we can start exploring some of these shapes. I'm gonna start with the ears, actually, because I wanna look at the head, as a whole, as usual. So let's just kind of do something like this. And especially when you are kind of imagining, like, designing characters like this, I think it's definitely important. I don't know, but to me, the ears play a huge role in like shaping the design of the character. And they have like so much personality, and it gives so much personality to the character. Just by the way they are shaped, the size, the angles, and all of that. And I don't think I see a lot of people putting too much attention to the ears. Or maybe it's just me. I think the ears are one of my pet peeves too, when I see like some pretty messed up ears. I mean, sculpted. Poorly sculpted ears, that's what I meant. So it just kinda... Actually funny because it's starting to remind me something that I thought about today. Maybe it's more like a cartoony version of that person. I'm not gonna say who it is, but something that I haven't seen in a long time, but for some reason came to my mind today. And this is funny. It's crazy how the mind works and how we make like unconscious decisions, but still thoughtful decisions, I guess, just based on stuff that we think it's random, but it's not, right? In this case, I'm really paying attention to what's going on. But alright, so just kind of throwing some shapes in there. Design-wise, there's some things here that I don't like, and I think the proportions are also kind of coming a little bit weird. So let's just start playing with some of these forms. What up, Larry? It's been, let me see, I'll give you the exact time code. It's been 14 minutes and 16 seconds. Yeah, just started, just having some fun, you know. Starting to sketch something kind of random. Playing with some of these shapes, some of these forms. Not really digging this skull here, so let's just kind of do something else. Yeah, so now I'm kind of really trying to find some sort of like design that syncs. I don't know exactly what I'm doing again, so it's just kind of designing on the fly, but let's see if I can find some interesting shapes and forms and whatever. We can carve out this nose. Kind of suggesting some stuff for now. That's kind of how I usually like to design stuff. Just suggesting, not spending too much time on anything. Trying to see the big picture. If you guys have any questions or whatever, that's what I'm here for. So. I saw someone asked about work. Unfortunately, I won't be able to discuss anything related to work or previous employees or anything like that, so let's just kind of keep this one to a personal level. Sorry about that. Let's see. I will not be on Lightbox this year. He really became a creature because I'm afraid of it. It's funny. Like, do you think it's important to learn modeling without symmetry, or is it just specific moments, for example, to pose the character? No, I do think it's very valid to model without symmetry. I think it's a really good exercise. Um, Honestly, it's much more uncomfortable to me to do that on a computer than to do on clay. Obviously, in clay there is no option, but it never felt uncomfortable. On a computer, depending on what you're doing, it does feel uncomfortable, but I guess it is a really good exercise indeed. So I usually do those when I'm not doing something like this right now, which I'm just trying to kind of have some fun and not really doing like a study per se. It's just kind of spending some quality time on the computer. But um, I think if you do like a pose and a sketch of a pose, or even like uh, a something a little bit more abstract, if you will, like more designish. It's always fun to do those without symmetry. Um, if you are practicing sculpting like a head like this, I've done a bunch asymmetrical heads like this just for the sake of doing them. I think it's fun too, but I anything you do will help. But it's not one of those exercises that I would say like, oh, this is like one of those must do like 100 of those or whatever, right? So I guess it's kind of really up to. I would totally say like, hey, do some post once because then you are studying a little like your mind is a little bit more on gesture and it's not really about maintaining symmetry. I don't think that important at that state. It will be much more about like capturing the gesture, capturing the proportions, and so and then like being without symmetry, it won't be a blocker because the pose is asymmetrical already. So it's just kind of trying to play with your mind to your brain and not give him it like a really hard time. Not sure if that really makes sense, but all right. Just kind of I said that I wanted to do like a skinny, tall person, creature, dude, whatever. So the nice thing about doing very skinny is that you can put a lot of emphasis on the bone structure, which it's awesome. It's fun and it looks good and it's fascinating. It's really good exercise too. It's just something that I like too. I think I see a lot of beginners focusing too much on muscles, and obviously muscles are important and whatnot, but I would always recommend kind of focusing on the big structures, the big forms, and having a solid understanding of the bone structure because that's the one that drives the look and the proportions. It's not the muscles, right? Like the size of your leg, the length of your leg, I should say. Um, it's dictated by the length of your femur. It's not by the the size of your quad, for example, right? But then, of course, the shape of your legs is somewhat dictated by not 100%, right? But it's somewhat dictated by your muscles. So, but the proportions, the big forms, the big shapes, I like to think that they come from the bones. I'm just rambling at this point. Alright, so this head, it's getting a little bit too square. I want to break it up. I want to get a little bit more action and kind of break these proportions a little bit more. So this is something that I notice, not only myself, but most people. We tend to default to what we think is the correct, if you will, right? So whenever we find something that it's not working, we tend to just kind of move it and push it to whatever is comfortable for us, whatever we studied the most. So this has been a struggle of mine, just trying to kind of break away from always doing the same forms and same stuff. So it's very easy for me to not even think and just kind of move this head, or like find the right, not the right, but you know, like the regular default proportions. But that's not what I intend to do here. So I definitely want to stylize a little bit more and, you know, like distort. So I'm just kind of experimenting some stuff in here, kind of breaking away from and that takes some effort and takes some conscious decisions here. So, did you have some imposter syndrome when you got your first job? Can you talk a little bit about it? So, actually, I did not. So, I have a very funny first job story, I guess you can call it. Um, so, it was literally the opposite in my way, in my case. So what happened was my first gig was editing videos. So at that time, I I didn't really know too much about video editing, or I didn't have any sense of design, of composition, or anything like that, right? So at that time, I was just kind of recording me and my friends skating and putting some of those tapes together, like sponsor me tapes, that kind of thing. And then I was like, hey, maybe I should get a job, because I went to college to study film, and on my first semester, I mean, I guess the reality in Brazil is slightly different than different parts of the world, but at that time I had to start working. So I was like, okay, I'm doing this, I'm studying film, and I you know, I do some video editing for my friends and myself. So I guess I'm a video editor, and to me I was. So I truly believed that I was, right? That I was kind of doing the best I could, and whatever I was doing was looking pretty good. So I didn't have any like reference at that time, or even anyone telling me like what's good and what's not, whatever, right? So all right, so then I started telling my friends, hey, I'm a video editor, like if you guys know anything, just kind of let me know. And then a friend of mine that used to work on a bank told me that he had a client which was the owner of a pretty big, not pretty big, but you know, like a somewhat big studio advertising in Brazil, advertising studio. They had a bunch of like big clients and stuff, and they were looking for a video editor. I was like, all right, that's me. And so I called the guy, and he was like, sure, yeah. So just bring me your demo reel, and that's it. And we're gonna take a look. So basically, I got to the place, and I was feeling pretty good. It's like, oh, how long have you been editing? I was like, yeah, you know what? I've been doing this for maybe like 2 or 3 years. I've added a bunch of stuff. Like, oh, that's awesome. So all right, so let me just call like all of the editors, and so basically we went into a room with yeah the majority of the studio, so maybe like 30 people or something, and they're like, all right, let's just watch these kids demo reel, right? And so what happened was in the first literally like 3 minutes of the thing, everybody started laughing, and I didn't even realize why they were laughing. Like, oh, maybe they like it, you know, like, but that was like literally horrible. Um, so I didn't even know what to say because they started laughing, and the guy was like, hey, just you know, like, hey, let's just go to another room. And he was like, dude, you told me you're an editor. Like, what you're doing here, this is just kind of like very immature. This is, you know, like, you're just playing with it. Like, there is no way I'm gonna I'm gonna give you like a gig, like one of these shows to edit. And that was very embarrassing after that I realized what I did, right? So so then he said, hey, I really want to help you though, because you are so naive and so confident that I kind of like it. I'm like, dude, just let me come, just let me come and watch, and whatever you guys do, whatever you guys say, this is gonna be like my like really big opportunity to learn and whatnot, right? So what happened was I started going to the studio, and the guy just let me watch people editing, and after a while I started doing like little edits here and there, and then of course at home I was kind of doing my own thing, kind of studying, and then you know after 6 months I got really like I was like literally hired, and then like a year later I was promoted to like a staff and whatever, like a mid-level editor, and then started doing like some 3D for them, and then that's how everything started. So I didn't really have the imposter syndrome. Um, Maybe when I came to the US a little bit, I think I can relate to that a little bit. I mean, that happened like 12 years later, so I was much more mature. But when I came here to the US to work at Naughty Dog, 2014, uh, maybe, but not as people usually say, right? Like, oh, now you're working for this big company and stuff. So to me at that time, I had already done a lot of like big stuff, if you will. So it was not really uh, that kind of experience. All right, so funny story. All right, let's see. Hey, thanks, guys. Thanks for all you do. No, thank you, guys. What would you say is the biggest guiding principles for you are outside, but also including art? So my biggest guiding principle, wow, that's a really tough one. Now you got me thinking. You guys always ask some really tricky ones. I think I really like the motto of "Don't count the days, make the days count." That's something that I heard like many years ago, and it kind of stuck with me. But I guess when it comes to principles, uh, I mean that's kind of cliche, but I'll say like always do your best. There's always like a better way of doing things, or what else? Um, I mean, I can talk a little bit more about my personality. I guess it's uh, whenever I think about something, I truly believe that I can do, and I just chase it until I get it, uh, and that can mean several different things. But man, that's a really tricky one because I'm really trying to give you like a proper answer or like a solid one, right? Instead of just giving like some crap. Um, let me think a little bit more about that one because that's definitely a complicated one to answer, especially when you are sculpting something that you don't really know what you're doing. uh, yeah, so my goal here is to find like some odd shapes, stuff that I usually don't really do. Uh, that's kind of one of the reasons I might be struggling with some of these forms. I definitely want to kind of go away from my safe ground, if you will, which I've fallen into a couple times already. Like, no, let's kind of get out of it. It's just something else. It's just kind of... So sometimes I like playing with like a different different piece of geometry, if you will, here, just to kind of be able to explore some intersecting shapes or whatever. But it's basically just so I have a little bit more freedom to, in this case, maybe I'm gonna do like some teeth or whatever. It's a little bit easier to just kind of maintain what you had before and maybe... So what I was talking about form before, that I've been thinking about shapes a little bit more now that I've done a lot of like drawing and painting. I mean, a lot for me, right? So this moment here, for me, it's very hard to think about form. I used to only think about form, but right now it's very hard to think about form because I don't even know what forms I'm building. So I'm really just trying to find balances between like the shape of the skull, and you know, like maybe these teeth or all right, maybe I can do... All right, so things are starting to kind of show up. So maybe we can do like a really big lips this way. Alright, it's kind of getting to a team here. Let's see. And maybe kind of to counterbalance that, maybe some... I don't like the forms from the front. They are very boring. But maybe to kind of counterbalance that, maybe we can do some like little horns or something. I think that this part is kind of the hardest. So again, all right, so let me just gonna go back again. Horns, right? All right, I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna do like a cylinder and then just kind of make them stick out, right? So how can I break away from the default horns that I've done like a billion times, right? So again, this is kind of one of my purposes in life, I guess, right now, is just kind of explore more forms, more shapes, more ideas, whatever, right? So don't go into the same path that you've done like 1,000 times before. So maybe I can find a slightly different shape of a horn. It maybe doesn't necessarily have to be like the classical horn that we've seen. Maybe we can just kind of create something a little bit more biased towards some sort of a different animal, or even like an alien, or I don't know. I mean, what does an alien look like, right? But maybe combining a little bit more of a bowl. I don't know. Let's just kind of throw some stuff in there. And now maybe we can make this even smaller. Tiny little head. Kind of finding the balance between this big jaw and to create even more contrast for the jaw and for the lips. Maybe we can make the chin really tiny. Guys, I'm really putting myself on the spot here. not having like a solid idea on what to do, but that makes it more interesting to me as well, and hopefully for you guys. Or maybe not. I don't know. Who knows? Does it really matter? Maybe. Maybe not. Anyways. Alright, let's just kind of carve this guy in here a little bit. And I guess we could just kind of throw a little bit more some definition in some areas, just to kind of guide us. Let's see. It's a really big head for this neck to be holding, so yeah, maybe we should do I don't know. I'm live. Sculpting on YouTube live. Alright. Bye. That's my wife. Alright, so maybe we can do something like this. And now the ribs are kind of flaring out. Maybe we can use that to again create more contrast and kind of squeeze these arms in a little bit. So it does create some really contrast here. Starting to kind of like this fella. Let's see. So this is how it feels being a time machine when you and Raph used to hang for doing some artwork, friendship goals. Oh right, yeah. Man, me and Raph, we go back a long time. We used to share a studio back in Brazil around 2009, 2010. So we used to share like a little space, and we used to just sculpt together maybe three times a week for like hours non-stop and just talk about life and goals. And it's actually awesome to remember like all of the talks that we had at that time. It's pretty crazy to imagine where we are right now. So man, yeah, it brings me really good memories. When can we expect your pro skater come? I don't think that's happening anymore, Larry. Alright. So, hey Gustavo, good to see you too, buddy. Hey, thanks guys. How did you manage your financial conditions at the very start of your career? Honestly, when I started when I was 17, and at that time I was living with my parents, and I actually lived with my parents till I was 20 something. So I didn't have any struggles, honestly, on that. Hey, what's up? What's up, everybody? Improve my skills. Here in Canada, most people look at my reel and tell me I'm good. When comparing to people in the States, I'm still really behind. No, so we don't usually. Every studio here in the US, we have juniors, we have mids, we have seniors, we have leads, we have all of that, right? But I guess the whole idea of hiring people abroad, if you really think about it, right, it has to be justifiable. So it would be very, very hard to hire someone below a senior level from abroad and do the whole relocation and all of that, because usually you can find someone with that same skill set nearby. But when it comes to like seniors and leads, you know, like people with more experience with a very specific type of skill set, then it's when it gets trickier, and that's why people usually open up for hiring from maybe a different state and then a different country, right, overseas and whatnot. So that's kind of the whole reason behind the seniority when hiring. Um, there is a little bit more to it, but I guess you kind of get the idea. I remember one of your videos where you were explaining something related to PBR maybe, and the phrase that changed me was, "Don't rediscover the wheel, stick with what works." Helped me a ton. That's good. That's awesome. Right. Glauco, what artists really inspire you? I think that's what you meant, right? So, man, so many artists. So many artists. What's up, Ellie? I'll take a look on an email later. Thanks, dude. Uh, so many artists. I think a really big one for me starting out was Alex Oliver. I mean, he became my teacher and then became my mentor, my friend later on. Of course, like Raf and all of these guys that are my friends too, they really inspire me as well. But I gotta say, I think Carlos Huante was definitely one of the biggest inspirations when I was starting out, and still is, honestly. I just love that guy's work. Um, Shiflet Brothers, I love those guys. Gio, Neckpill, love his work as well. And they seem to follow like the same trend, very humanoidish uh, creatures and characters, really focused on form and anatomy and gesture and all of that. But I mean, all of the Renaissance, love Bernini. Um, I love Solomon's paintings as well. So you know, like I have so many. I don't think I George Duchel, Rick Baker. You know, like uh, Steve Wang. I could be just kind of name dropping like all night long, but I think it really depends on what I'm doing too, on the type of work that I'm doing. I have maybe like 3 or 4 top artists on each segment or in each area that if I'm doing like a real-time model, whatever, right? Like I know like these people have done like this like very well, then I can follow. If I'm doing like a concept design or something, I know like these are like my guide. So you know, it's a very tricky one. I don't think I can name just like one or two. It really depends on what I'm doing. They all inspire me in like many different ways. I'm really inspired by nature as well, and just and by nature I just don't mean like, oh, you know, like sitting in the nature. That definitely helps and inspires me for sure. But I'm I'm inspired by the human being, uh, and again, not just kind of the human anatomy. I'm inspired by things that we say and things that we do, and the human being in general. Uh, Sometimes, like maybe I read an article that says like somebody helped the other one or whatever, you know, like something like that, like a really nice gesture, or I'm on a street and I think I'm very sensitive to a lot of stuff too. So if I'm like walking and a car stops by, or just say like good morning, you know, like little gestures, like little things like that, sometimes it really triggers stuff in me and I get like pretty like super inspired and I feel like really good. Uh, I don't know. I also take inspiration on challenges too, on on hard work and in achievements and all of that. I don't even know what I'm talking about anymore. Oh man, I'm like, all right, let's just kind of get back to it. I kind of lost the trend here. Hey, what's up, Bona? That guy inspires me a lot. If you guys don't know Bona, his whole journey, been following since the beginning, very inspiring. So that's dedication there. He's proof that if you want to do it, you do it. And so that inspires me a lot, like that type of attitude. All right, so I'm getting a couple questions in Portuguese. I guess I will answer those in English. How long I've been sculpting? So I started with 3D actually. So that was 2004, and then I started doing this for real in 2006. And then by 2008, I got into traditional sculpture, and then I spent like 5 or 6 years just mostly doing traditional. Still doing some digital work here and there, but mostly traditional. So I guess you can do the math since 2004, 6-ish. All right, so now I think it's when the fun starts. Let me just kind of save this guy here. And we're gonna dive into this head and start sculpting some interesting stuff. Let's just do this, and or maybe we can go a little bit higher. All right, let's go, because this is gonna get fun. All right, so I'm 28. Is it too late for? No. So I get this question a lot. Am I too old? Is it too late? Right, so this is how I see all of this. So no matter what age you are, if you do something for, I would say like 10 solid years, you're gonna get pretty good at it. It could be anything, right? I don't think, I'm not saying you're gonna be the best or you're gonna achieve the greatest level ever, but I'm pretty sure if you do maybe almost anything, 10 years, you're gonna get pretty good at it. So if you are 20, if you are 30, if you are 40, I don't think it really matters. You just need to put the time. But here's the thing. I think the older we are, the more mature we get. And because of that, me personally, I find it a little bit easier to study new things and to study like new conceptual ideas. Maybe I'm not as naive as I used to be when I was starting out, because now I know that it does take time, but at the same time, I know that if I just keep pushing, I will get there. So there isn't the same level of worry that I used to have in the beginning, where, oh, this is not working, I don't know what I'm doing or whatever. I still have these feelings, right? So even when I'm painting and when I'm drawing, when I'm doing something like that I've never done before, or that I'm not good at, I still feel it, but I just tell myself, hey, this is normal. You've done this before. You've seen other people doing it before as well. So just keep pushing. So I think the older we get, the more mature we get, and that tends to make things easier. And you see a lot of people, and I had a bunch of students which were a little bit on the older, if you will, side, like what you're saying, and they would develop their skills like way faster than others, because they know that they need to put the time. They are a little bit more organized, more mature, more secure as well. Maybe they even have like more means of like buying new stuff and buying more courses, like investing. They have like a little bit more power to invest on classes and you know, like exercise and whatnot, or even like tools and you know, all that kind of stuff too. So yeah, don't think that because you are a little bit older, then you're gonna be suffering. I think it's gonna, you can turn that into your advantage. That's kind of how I see it. And even if you think that's crap, it doesn't really matter, right? Because you have no option. So that's one of the things that I like to think too. It's, oh, even if that's not true, it doesn't matter because that's, you don't have any other choices. So you know, just get over it and just do it. Just do it. All right, we got a new material here, and let's kind of keep sculpting. Gotta keep sculpting, you know. All right, just kind of blocking out the eyes, you know, still keeping everything kind of loose. I want to be able to really kind of really change stuff quickly as well as I'm designing some of these forms. And all right, just kind of getting to these ears a little bit. All right, maybe we need to follow the same trend with the mouth. Try to find some shapes to kind of go along. Let's see, how can I improve the shapes and planes? My observation. So I think the better way is to just study and sculpt and honestly copy things that you like. And when copying things that you like or things that you are studying, trying to think about why you like them and what kind of feelings they generate. And really start, and I think that's valid for everything. Like when you see something that you like, stop for a second and just kind of pay attention, like, and try to guess or even understand like why you like certain things, and even like people, other artists that you like, and say like, hey, this is so cool, it feels so alive, or whatever it is, right? Just kind of try to pause for a second and think like, what am I reacting to here? Like, why do I like these things? Like, what's about what I'm seeing here that I like? And I think the more conscious you get about it, and the more studies and copies and, you know, like sketches and, you know, like those that sort of thing, the more shape language you're gonna be building into your own library, and then you're gonna start like mimicking some of that, reproducing some of that. Some of it will come naturally, some of it you have a hard time, and you know, I also like to find opportunities for making things cool, if you will, too. So in this case, I'm like pressing the ears here, right? So I'm gonna try to use that to create an opportunity of like creating like a deep wrinkle here, and you know, like create some like saggy skin, and same here, you know, like this big neck. Can we find some opportunities for making some softer skin, kind of dripping, or even like against the bone here. You know, I don't like the tip of this horn, so maybe we can try something else. I don't think it's kind of really flowing nicely. This is something that we can do to make this a little bit more fun too. Let's see if we can find some different forms here. So you see, like some of these are becoming like a little bit too natural or too default-ish, if that's a word.
But it's not a thing about making it accurate. It's about making it feel right.
There you go. It's not about making something accurate. It's making about feeling it right. Whatever he was saying. I don't even know what's playing here, but alright, let's see. We have a couple more questions. Hey, does the industry use scan texture for production, or is all still done by hand? Oh, we definitely use textures, scan textures for everything. All of the projects I worked on, we even the ones that we say it was painted by hand, we always use textures to kind of either add more details or to have like a solid base to start with. It's like, do we use scans? Yeah, we do. Even on more stylized projects, we use scans as well as like another tool. Sometimes we don't, but I think it's definitely part of your toolkit. Alright, so yeah, for sure, this is gonna be recorded. This is gonna be on YouTube. I'm gonna just leave it there. So I was asking about my new triathlon journey and how is that influencing my art. That's a big one, Derek. Good to see you, buddy. Maybe I'll get into it in a little bit later, because I'll have to elaborate a little bit more. Let's see. After working with Naughty Dog and Santa Monica, did you ever thought, okay, what's next? How do you keep yourself motivated? Well, not really, actually. So even when I was at Sony, Santa Monica, honestly, just like looking at the people around me, that's enough to keep me motivated. You know, like, and even in right now as well, right? Like I'm working at Striking Distance, and I'm working with some mind-blowing people, mind-blowing artists. So that keeps me motivated, I guess. And you know, like just seeing online other artists, thinking about what I want to do with my career, what I want to get, where I came from as well. It's also very important. That's something that I always remind myself. All of these stories that I told you guys earlier today. So all of these things, they keep me motivated. But I don't want to kind of pretend that I don't have like my moments where I don't want to do stuff as well. And I think that's everybody, all of the artists that I know, they all have these moments. And sometimes we push through, and sometimes we also just kind of relax. We just take our time to, you know what? Maybe this is not. Maybe I shouldn't. I should just relax. Maybe I'm like, work is too stressful right now. Maybe I'm just one of those phases where I'm taking some time off. and that's fine too. Uh, so yeah, let's see. Do you still use the Oculus Rift for sculpting? What do you think about the VR on the 3D industry? It's been a while. I think it's been a couple months since I touched the Rift. I was actually thinking about streaming today on the VR, but I decided to just go with the ZBrush. I think it's the future, honestly. I think there's still we are in the beginning of a new phase, but I think it's the future, and I think we will all eventually do a lot of stuff in VR, a lot of the modeling. It feels way better. I mean, I don't think the tool is quite there yet, and I know there's a bunch of like different companies working on different sculpting, drawing, and whatever tools. So that's that. So, but it just feels awesome. Like right now, it feels very flat. I'm just kind of, you know, like pushing the pen around, but being able to use your body, being able to kind of really feel the forms and, you know, like the lighting and all of that, it's just mind blowing. So yeah, I don't know, some of these things here are not really stacking. Just gonna keep. Alright, I'll come back to this later. Alright, this nose is kind of boring. So let's see. Alright, so we can work on these big teeth here, or whatever that is. Let's see what we can do here. Yeah, I like some stuff. Some other stuff I don't like. So what I would probably do in a little bit is kind of start looking at some references and trying to resolve what I don't like. But in general, I like that I'm really today practice was to be able to push form on a known which word should I use? On a known traditional? No, not traditional. On a known comfortable, maybe? yeah, I definitely. So again, like I was saying since the beginning, and I will repeat myself as a broken record. I'm really focused right now on my personal journey in art too, and I think I learned that a lot from the painting and the drawing. To not to kind of go away from preconceptual, preconcepted, preconcept, conceptual, preconceived ideas, or even what I would call the my safe way of doing things, not the superstore, not the supermarket safe way. Ha 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 ha. How funny. So not the. So I'm really trying to find, explore, uh, not really fall into the trap of kind of reproducing what I've done my whole life or most of my life. You know, like you study the skull and then you do the skull like a thousand times, and whenever thing gets you're designing a creature or whatever, whenever you're sculpting and things get hard, you kind of fall back into what you know it's gonna work. And I think it is a safety measure for when you are doing like a live demo like today, but when you don't want to fail, right? But honestly, I'm kind of past that point. I don't really care too much anymore on a demo, on a live demo per se. So I think I've built my confidence enough that I don't need to prove for myself or to whoever is watching that I don't want this to sound cocky, but so hopefully you guys are following the trend here. But what I'm saying is that I'm not doing this to show off. I'm doing this just to kind of. I'm really being spontaneous and transparent with my goals here. And the goal is to uh, try different things, and maybe some of those things they will not work. And that's my journey right now is to try doing things that I haven't done and try forms that I'm not comfortable. And I think I will grow much more by doing that rather than, just doing another like alien or orc or whatever, like things that I've done a lot in the past that I know that they will look cool. Um, kind of following the little schemes that I've built for myself after like copying and studying a lot of artists that I admire. And again, the thing that it's helping me with all of that is to kind of detach myself a little bit from, even though I'm thinking about a lot, like form a lot right now, specifically at this moment, really trying to kind of detach myself a little bit from the form. And like you see like the outline here, these shapes, like how can I make these shapes a little bit like cooler. And then after the shapes are established, and this is something that I've learned with Ilya on some of the traditional drawing classes that I took on the Russian method, is like find some really interesting lines and interesting forms, and not forms, like shapes, patterns, and then we make them work, and then we kind of find the anatomy within those forms, within those shapes. I mean, these ideas are very hard to explain, to put in words, especially when you're not really doing something specifically that you can all kind of look at. I mean, I've been rambling for so long at this point, so oh man, it's so hard to kind of talk about all of this random stuff while sculpting. I think it's just kind of using the same side of my brain, or whatever. It's just getting very hard. Alright, probably gonna do this for maybe like 30 more minutes and then call it a night. So on the diet and training routine, Derek asked, so I never done any endurance sports in my life up to this January, but I've always done a lot of sports. So my entire life, I've done sports and um, like skating, surfing, CrossFit, like pumping iron, if you will. Like so, I've done a lot of like sports, right? Snowboarding and all of that. This year, I started like cycling last year, and then this year I decided to sign up for a triathlon. And and then because I signed up, I decided to lose some weight, and then I also decided to uh, find a coach to help me with the triathlon training, at least in the beginning. So I did that for a couple months, and then with the diet, I found someone to help me, like a nutritionist to help me with the diet as well. So you know what? Right in the beginning, the first like 3 months, I had like full support from like many different people and different professionals, and that completely changed my whole perspective about the sport and about having guidance and all of that. So it was a really good beginning. But anyway, so what I want to say is I got pretty into it, and now I've been training most weeks, not every week because you know like I have other priorities, but like work, my family. Our second kid is about to be born in a couple weeks, so I have other priorities. But overall, the majority of the weeks since January, I've been training like 10 to 12 hours per week. So that means that I do an hour and a half, 2 hour training every single day, and then on the weekends I do some longer training. And with that, in order to pull it off, I really needed to start waking up earlier. So now I got into the habit of waking up around 5 a.m. every day. So I usually go to bed about 8:30, 9. Today it's a little bit different because tomorrow I have the day off, so I'm not gonna be waking up 5 to train. But that's one of the reasons why I'm doing this like late at night. Late, right? Like this is like right now it's like 9:30 p.m. But so I you know like you spend so much time by yourself, riding, running, swimming, and all of that. And I think that really builds a lot of resilience. And I identified with a lot of the struggles and a lot of with the mental challenges that comes with triathlon, with any endurance sports for like long duration. I don't know, it really clicked, and I started to enjoy it like more and more and more. And it, it, I can relate to so many to so much stuff, to so many conceptual ideas, like from sticking to it. A lot of stuff that we see in the arts, I think it's very similar. You gotta put the time, you gotta practice. Some days you're gonna fail, but then if you look from the long run, you're gonna get better, right? And then it's just you against yourself, and I don't know. It really clicked with me, and I'm in love. So I'm uh, I'm fully addicted at this point. I participated on a couple races this year already. Got some pretty good. Uh, pretty good for like a beginner, right? So got like second place age group and like third place age group and that kind of stuff. So I was pretty impressed and pretty stoked, pretty happy, and that of course motivates me to keep doing even more. And I have a big race in December. It's gonna be my first half Ironman. Pretty stoked about that one, and you know, and I think it helps with the art itself. I think I don't see a lot of like correlation with the actual what I'm doing here with sculpting this creature, right? But like I was saying, with the whole patience, discipline, and all of that, I can relate to all of it like instantaneously. And uh, and you know, like, and sports are always like a really good thing for your health, for your body, uh, for feeling fresh, to kind of remove the daily stress, right, and all of the stuff that you guys are tired of hearing. So right. All right. Am I doing personal projects real time? I'm working on two right now, actually. Any future plans for NFTs? So the whole NFT thing, I think it's fabulous. I honestly think it's amazing. I actually started uh, 6 different projects, but none of them really made sense for me to continue. So until I can find something that, you know, like, has a real purpose and a real meaning to me, uh, I'm not gonna do it. So I'm not gonna do anything just for doing it for the sake of doing it. I don't think that's I don't think that works, and I wouldn't feel good about doing that this way. So I think the time will come, and when the time arrives, I'll be able to do something. And I'm not really forcing myself to do any of that either. Um, and and that thing, it's evolving so fast. Uh, but but yeah, that's my take on the whole NFTs. I think it's awesome, awesome for the community, different ways uh, of people interacting, different opportunities, and all of that. But I haven't really done anything like for real myself. And again, you know, done 100,000 teeth in my life. How can I do something different on this one? How can I let some of these shapes break up? How can I try some different stuff? And of course, I would probably need to get some references eventually, but how can I use some of the randomness of some of these forms and not fall into the same trap of doing the same stuff over and over? It's very hard to kind of explain what I'm thinking, but I'll try. So I see a lot of like bone landmarks on the teeth and like some really tough. Uh, it's hard to explain, but some tough forms. Some kind of pointy shapes here and there. So I felt like, hey, I think I need to kind of carve in some of like the zygomatic here to kind of lock some of these forms, like here, there, maybe here as well, just to kind of keep the flow of like some of these hard edges. And again, like the hard edges thing, it's a term used by draftsmen, you know, like in the drawing and painting. Um, on a sculpture, it's a little bit harder to kind of have a grasp on some of these ideas, but I guess you can still think about soft forms and hard forms and all of that. So guys. How many years it took me to feel that I was getting good? That's a good question. Um, I think on my honestly, it took me a while. I think I would say on my fourth year, I started seeing some cool stuff, some stuff that I was like, all right, this is actually good. I mean, right now I look at it and it's crap, but at that time, I was like, all right, things are starting to make sense, and but I see some people achieving the same level of skill, or not even skill, maybe just confidence or results. I could put it this way too, in like less than a year. So honestly, for me, everything that I've done, it took a long time and a lot of effort. So all right, so I guess we could discuss the talent thing. Um, I would say if talent really exists, I truly don't believe that I have for the arts. I think if I have a talent, honestly, my talent would be uh, just believing in myself and and be resilient, and like just keep pushing. So that would be just be like very focused, I would say, and discipline. That would be my talent. I don't think sculpting or drawing or any of like the arts came easy to me at all, and they don't feel easy. It always feels like a struggle. So in the same note, I don't think talent exists again in the sense that we think it's like a divine thing, like a gift from God or whatever, right? But I do see myself having an easier time uh, doing sports than some other people. But that's also not really fair because I've done that my whole life, right? So I grew up playing sports, and so I guess if you see like, oh, this guy has a lot of talent, like for drawing, and he's been drawing his whole life, he's been surrounded by art his entire life and enjoyed it or whatever, right? So that's why things are very very hard to kind of judge, and it has like so many different perspectives. But going back to one of the things that I talked before today, it doesn't really matter, right? It does not matter because you have no choice. If you don't have the gift and you still want to do it, I'm pretty sure you can pursue it and get really good. I don't have any doubts on that. So you don't have any choice. Just go ahead and do it. All right. Now I'm kind of mixing up some of the ape or gorillas, or like stuff that I've done in the past, to some of interesting things that I've seen. Not really thinking too much here, just kind of letting it flow. Thanks, Jaime. Alright. Yeah, maybe we're gonna do 15 more minutes or something. I need to hit the bed. But even though I said I'm not gonna wake up at 5, I still need to wake up at 6, so... yeah. That was fun. Yeah, I'll probably start doing some of these again. These are very impromptu, so I was like, yeah, you know what? I'm just gonna, go live and do like a live session on YouTube, whatever. Like, so I thought about it for maybe 30 seconds, and then I posted on Instagram, and then 5 minutes later I was here. So maybe I should plan a little bit more doing these, or maybe not. Maybe I should just keep them spontaneous and kind of still don't know exactly who this guy is, but I kind of like his face. Not a huge fan on the front view. Kind of like the 3/4 and the side. Let's see if I can make the front view a little bit more interesting. Yeah, no. Alright, so again, talking about finding a team and trying to make things interesting. Now that I kind of moved the corner of the jaw here in, I can really use the team of everything, like all of this skin is merging and stretching because all of this stuff growing here, right? So I can think, alright, how can I explore this a little bit further? So imagine like the bone is there, but this is all getting inflated or pushed out, like flare out by something, right? Like these teeth that it's growing or something. And now, how can I make some of these skin kind of coming over? Like, and then once you have that team, it's very easy and fun to really kind of pick on it and use that to kind of guide some of the decisions then you can see then that the whole stretched skin started to become something that I'm going to be playing with. But honestly, guys, I think that's it for today. I'm a little bit tired, to be honest, and that was fun. I think I was able to find some interesting forms, and we're gonna probably continue this another day. Let's see. Alright, and the median, if I'm still studying the median, yeah, as I was saying before, it's been a few months since I've done a sculpture in VR. But I like I was saying, like I still think that's amazing and that's the future. I think we just need to keep developing the tools and pushing the technology, and we'll get there. Hey, what's up, Luke? Thanks, dude. All right, there's another one. What is art for me? Then that would be a one that I would have to elaborate a lot too. Maybe we do that one on the next stream. But you know, what books do I recommend? Sorry, Luis. I think I have a long list of books too. Um, I really love art books. I love photograph books, but I love reading about things unrelated to art as well. Um, More on the psychology or even like stuff like chess books, right? So I'm not one of those persons that read like a lot of books in my whole life, but I read very different and unique books, I should say. So maybe I can do a stream just about books. Hey, what's up, John? If you guys don't know John, he's a beast. Good to see you here, buddy. Yeah, it's been a while, man. Hope all is well. Thanks for stopping by. Um, are you working on Anatomy Studies Volume 2? Any idea when you're going to release? So actually, I sculpted, or I studied, I should say, 4 or 5 more pieces for Anatomy Volume 2. But I stopped. It's been a few months, if not a year, at this point. I don't know when that's gonna come back, so I'm just kind of waiting. On for the right time. I just don't feel like doing those studies at this moment. I just have so much stuff going on, and those studies are very time consuming and mental taxing. So you really need to be in the right mood. In my case, and I'm not right now. For that, I'm in the mood for doing something else. So eventually, I'm not gonna give you crap and give you any promises. How's work doing? It's been great. Pretty busy, but working on some really amazing stuff. All right, guys. I'm gonna call it a night. Thanks everybody for joining. That was fun. I'm probably gonna do this more often now. And take it easy. Hope you guys all have a good rest of your night, your day, whenever you are. And see you guys soon. Bye bye.